Good morning, rock stars, and welcome back to day 4 of the 12 days of FMQ FAQ. I'm so excited to have you here with me. If you are just now joining us, my name is Holly Ann Knight of String and Story, and it is my job to guide you to quilt with confidence. I'm so excited to be going through this series today. And today, after discussing machines and supplies, and what did we talk about yesterday? Big quilts on small machines. Today, we're going to talk all about stitch length and how to work towards even stitch length when you're free motion quilting quilts, specifically on your sit-down domestic machines. Just a reminder, most of what we're talking about right now is specific to quilting on your home sewing machine. If you're interested in more information about long arm quilting, I talk about that when we're heading into long arm preparatory, and that will be coming up in October. But right now, our focus is all about you can quilt your own quilt on your home sewing machine. And it's amazing to me how much the myth has spread that that's not possible. So I'm here to shake things up, and I'm here to make you feel confident taking those next steps. All right. As we get started, good morning, Karen. Just a couple of reminders for y'all as far as what's going on in the caption of this video. First of all, you'll see a little blurb about what we're going to be talking about today, followed by a link over to the String and Story blog. That's there so that after our time together on this video, you can click through and go read more information and just dive a little bit deeper into today's topic. Second link in the caption of this video is an invitation. I would absolutely love to have you join me for the Quilting Plan Challenge in just a couple of weeks. The Quilting Plan Challenge is all about deciding what to quilt where on your quilts, how to make a plan for your stitching so that you can confidently sit down to free motion quilt your quilts without that anxiety that you're going to mess up your precious quilt tops. All right. Third and finally, before we officially jump in, if you have not already, please hit subscribe to my YouTube channel. It'll make it easier for you to find these replays and to find the rest of the live videos as we continue on through this month. If you haven't caught on already, I'm going to be live at 11 a.m. Eastern or 11:02 because it's me, basically every day for the month of August, because I want you to finish the month of August having gone back to school with your free motion quilting and feeling confident to take those next steps to finish your own quilts. Deal? All right. Without further ado, I want to jump us right in to talking about stitch length. Now, when we're talking about free motion quilting, stitch length is literally how long each of those individual stitches are. I've got a nice little sample here of some work I did not too long ago. And one of the big concerns I hear from my new free motion quilters is my stitches aren't all the same. They aren't even. Is that a problem? And if so, how do I fix it? Right? So first of all, if you are doing hand-guided machine quilting, you don't need to have an expectation of yourself that all of your stitches are going to be perfectly even. You are in fact a human and not a machine. And I love to cite the first time that I was at QuiltCon. Let's see, I believe this was QuiltCon 2018. And I got to see one of Angela Walter's amazing quilts hanging in person at the show. And I got right up on it because I wanted to know. She very famously does not use a stitch regulator. And I was like, I want to know, how even are these stitches? And they were pretty even, but they were not perfect. And I got to tell you, in that moment, I felt like a weight fell off my shoulders, because if an amazing educator like Angela doesn't have to have perfect stitch length, then I don't either, and neither do you. All right, so I first want to set us free from that, that we have to have perfect stitch length. Alicia and Helen, I'm so glad you've joined us. Rockstars, if you are here or if you're watching the replay, do say hi in the chat or in the comments. I love being able to see who's tuning in with me. All right. So now that we've set ourselves free from the myth that it has to be perfect, how good does our stitch length need to be? All right. And my big guidance here is I want to steer you away from two extremes. We don't want our stitches to be super long. These are sometimes called toe grabbers, because if our stitches are long enough to get caught on things, then those threads can break. And if those threads begin to break, then it's easier for our stitching to actually become unpicked over time and for our quilts to be less stable. Now, I got to be honest with you. I have quite a few quilts at my house that have plenty of stitches that are a little bit longer than I would actually recommend, right? Because just because a quilt isn't perfect doesn't mean we shouldn't love it. All right. And at my house, in addition to having me and the hubster and the kids and the doggo, we also have 2 cats that have all their claws. And I'm not particularly great about keeping those nails trimmed. So sorry for anyone who comes to my house and plays with my cats. They're very friendly, but their claws are sharp. And I, of course, have noticed over time that it's easy for little kitty cat claws to get caught on overly long stitches on my quilts. And some of those stitches have broken. I can happily report that over the several years that I've continued to use those quilts, they have not fallen into bits, right? So this is not something that's going to immediately make your quilt completely unusable. But you know, it's not as cute when I'm sitting on the bed and I'm like, okay, well, there's a couple of stitches here that have gotten picked at by the cats. All right, so we want to steer away from those longer threads that could get caught or broken, because over time that could threaten or affect the integrity of the quilt and its structure. All right. Hey, Leanne, I saw you order that kit this morning. Good morning, Lee. Good morning, Igrazia. Oh, Eleni, sorry. I see your name now in your comment. Dawn, Margot, great to see y'all. On the other end of the spectrum are very teeny tiny stitches. Okay. Let me see if I can find any examples of these. Actually, this is a decent example here. There are times in our quilting like this when we're turning a super tight corner. See how tiny these stitches are? That our stitches will kind of naturally shrink, right? Think of this as if you're running around a tight corner, just picture if you, let's say you're going down the sidewalk and you have to do a quick U-turn, right? There's a decent likelihood that you're going to take several really quick steps as you turn around, kind of in close succession, because it's going to be the fastest way to whip your body around, short of maybe doing like a pivot on your toe, right? And so there's an element to which if you're turning a sharp corner, your stitches are probably going to get a little shorter because you're going to speed up to get around that corner smoothly. All right. But when we're just going about our regular stitching, we don't want tiny little microscopic stitches. Those are also not super great. It's easier for things to get tangled. It's easier for our tension to get messed up. And they don't create quite the same lovely effect draped across our quilt. All right. Instead, we want our stitches to be somewhere in the middle, like the example that I showed you at the beginning. And I really do want you to take a look at this and recognize that these stitches are not perfect. These are all hand-guided stitches. I did them without a stitch regulator, but they're pretty even. And this is where our big secret, if you will, for creating even stitches comes in. It's earth-shattering. Are you ready? Practice. 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 That is every student of mine's least favorite answer to any question they ask. And it's one that I give a lot, right? And I always feel a little like, oh, I'm so sorry. I wish there was a formula to this, right? But what's going on with stitch length if we are not using a stitch regulator is that our stitches are more even the more consistent our movement is. So when we're consistent with the pressure on the foot pedal so that our needle is moving evenly, when we're consistent with how we're moving our fabric because we feel confident about doing those motifs. We feel confident about how to maneuver the quilt. And all of those things simply come by showing up again and again and again and simply clocking time. Free motion quilting. All right. So I say all of the above to say if you are a newbie free motion quilter and your stitches are not as even as the ones I just showed you, it will come. Continue to practice. All right. And if you've been free motion quilting for a while and this is something you're still struggling with, I want you to start paying attention to how you're free motion quilting, right? Are you quilting in starts and stops? A quick burst and then you kind of freak yourself out and you slow down and stop really suddenly? When you're getting started with your quilting, the moment that needle starts to move, do you shove your quilt underneath the machine, right? Because we can even out these processes in order to arrive at smoother stitches, all right? That last example that I gave is in fact really, really important because this is one of the most common challenges I see with new free motion quilters is that just because you hit the foot pedal doesn't mean your needle is automatically moving and moving at an even pace, right? Most machines take a moment to kind of pick up, right? And I describe it very gracefully as your machine making that sound, right? But it takes a second. It's like you starting your car from a red light. It takes a minute. All the combustion engine things have to happen. Similarly, inside your machine, all the electrical motor things have to happen, okay? So part of this practice is not being afraid of letting your machine take a stitch or two in place before you begin to move, right? So learning to kind of breathe with your machine and then move more evenly, all right? Any questions so far? And then two more things are going to happen before we wrap up our time together today. I'm going to speak briefly to the Bernina Stitch Regulator if you happen to be on a Bernina. And Darcy is here and she's going to come around in just a minute. And she started learning free motion quilting just what, in June? In June. So she's very early in her free motion quilting journey. And she's going to speak up into my little microphone here. And I'm just going to take a moment to kind of mini interview her on her experiences with stitch length. All right. I'll take a sip of coffee, make sure no questions come up. All right. I'm going to show you the Bernina Stitch Regulator and talk about it first because I also want to be able to ask Darcy some questions about it. And so I think that's gonna be helpful for y'all to have some context. Marie says, "Good morning. I've noticed my stitches are getting better and better, and I've been at this for a while." Marie, I love that. I'm trying to. It was a while into my free motion quilting journey. Not so much a while in terms of calendar time, but a while in terms of hours. Because when I learned to free motion quilt, I was the most, as I usually am, because this is who I am as a person, and so I was quilting hours and hours and hours a day, and I had the time to do that because nap time, hallelujah, and it was a lot of hours into that practice before I really saw things click, but when it clicked, it was like I had flipped a switch that I now knew what it felt like, right? To move my hands and the foot pedal pressure and the needle all in sync. I'm training for a half marathon right now, and I did a run this morning with Peloton instructor Bex Gentry, and she was saying on the recording, um, she was working us through some pacing, right? So we started at a very like slow, even pace, and then we increased to our marathon pace. I'm training for a half, but the program is written for folks training for a full. And she was like, "Your new BFF." She was like, "You have to know how this pace feels in your body." And it's interesting because I've been running for a while now, right? I've been running for several years. I've already run one half marathon. I've done several 5Ks. Um, I on slow weeks am clocking 10, 12 miles a week, which is, just decent, steady work, right? But it's been really interesting how I think this time around with my training, I can much more easily lock my body into this is what 9.5 minutes per mile feels like. This is what 10 minutes per mile feels like. This is what 10.5 minutes per mile feels like. And that has just come with practice. And I think free motion quilting works very similarly, that it just takes time of paying attention to what is working, what is not working, in order to slide into that rhythm faster, and create, even on a practice sandwich that I had done, as a teaching demo, work that has pretty even stitches. Okay. Now I get asked about it all the time. Ooh, Shelly has a great question. Let's see. Shelly says, "I have only quilted straight lines or small curves with a walking foot on my HT9 straight stitch only. I really want to do more with my quilting. Will this quilting class be too far ahead for me?" Nope. This quilting class was made for you. So excited. Keep tuning into all these lives, and keep tuning in to the Quilting Plan Challenge. All right. All right. Let's talk about the Bernina Stitch Regulator. So I get asked about this all the time, and that's why I want to make sure that I go over this, because I want to, put some myths to rest and give y'all some info as well. So this is, of course, designed specifically for Bernina machines. It plugs in, and it helps to track, essentially, how quickly you're moving the fabric in order to adjust your needle speed. Okay. Um, this is not a popular opinion with Bernina, so just, here we go. I don't love it. I don't love it. And here's why. It's like riding with training wheels when you don't need training wheels. Okay. And I have students who have this, and in some cases, this is the only free motion quilting foot you have, right? So you're going to learn to work with it, because we know we are big fans of working with what we have. And depending on the machine you bought, if you bought a Bernina, this may have come with it. And you may be like, well, I'm going to use that instead of buying something else. And that's awesome. Please do that. Even if it's not your favorite thing, please do that. But when you have the opportunity to move away from this, I think it is more worthwhile to practice that feeling of rhythm that we just talked about, because that means that you can quilt on any machine, anytime, with any type of free motion quilting foot, and slide right into what you need to do. Okay. But if you have the BSR and if you're wanting to use it, my recommendation would be to use it while you're in kind of your stage of quilting where you're going a little bit more slowly, you don't feel as confident, and go ahead and give yourself permission from the get-go that if you have another foot option, when you start to notice you're outrunning this foot, or if it feels glitchy to you, that you take it off and you practice with something else. Okay. Just so y'all have seen it, this is, like I said, this is what it looks like. It also comes with an open toe foot. I'm not giving y'all a ton of information about it because, to be honest, I don't know a lot about it, because the times I've used it have not been my favorite. Oh, Darcy recommends this one.
That's the only one I use.
I mean, this is a great foot. Not gonna lie. It's like, can you plug the BSR in and just not turn that setting on so that you can?
You could.
I wonder that.
You should try it.
We should definitely try it. Darcy only has the BSR. That's why I wanted to make a special note of, if you have this and this is the foot you've already invested in, start here. In spite of the fact that it's not my favorite, like, just throw my opinion out the window for a while. Okay. This is very similar to a glide foot, so it's great for going over seams. That's how you were so successful with your Astra, for sure. Love that. Oh, love the right tools for the job. Yeah, it would. Absolutely, it would. All right. Let's see. Oh, Karen, you're still working on your tension. I have great news. Like, the next 3 days are all about tension. So we're going to be addressing all of that. Shelly says, I have everything I need to do to free motion quilt, but I'm too scared. I have the best news for you. That's very normal. And it's part of my job to make you feel confident. Okay. All right. Yeah, Marie had a similar experience with the training wheels feeling. All right, Darcy, will you slide a chair over here? You're gonna have to shout into my ear. I'm gonna mini interview Darcy. If you have further questions about free motion quilting stitch length or finding that rhythm, like, put them in the chat, okay?
Hello.
Hi, Boo.
Can you guys hear me?
Can y'all hear Darcy? I'm like pointing. I'm like.
I'm trying to shout here.
Yeah, just shout right at me. So you started free motion quilting in June.
Yeah, actually, I think it was May, because it was right before I went to the beach.
Okay, May.
Yeah, it was our first free motion quilting class in the store.
Disclaimer: she took to it like a fish to water.
It was so much fun immediately.
Yeah.
Like, the practice sandwich was a great way to get started. I felt like for I think it was Shelly that said she was scared, because it was very, like, you know, it's low, what's the word I'm looking for?
Low pressure, like low risk.
Yeah, low risk. Like, you're not messing anything up. But I was scared too, because my biggest fear is sewing through my fingers. So, like, I was very cautious of where my fingers were. I talk about this a lot, so Holly Ann knows this.
Oh, it's loud and clear! Yay! It's working. Yay! Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So I talk about how scared I am sewing through my fingers, like, a lot, like, every day. So I was nervous for that reason more than anything else. But the first project I did after that was a pretty big quilt.
Yeah, she immediately quilted her, like, 60 by 80 Astra quilt. Yeah. So those of you who tuned in yesterday and we were talking about quilting big quilts on domestic machines, Darcy's on a Bernina 570. So very standard throat space.
Yep.
Conquered it. And she did it very quickly. Y'all were asking me yesterday about timeline. How fast did you do it?
Let's see, 2 days, but I spent many hours.
Many hours, yeah.
I like to sit down and plug when I plug into something, I plug all the way in.
I love it.
But I used the BSR on it, and it is the foot that I have, like you were saying, because I don't want to buy another foot right now. I just bought my Bernina and I love it, but you know, she's not cheap.
No, she's not.
So I wanted to make sure that I'm, like, utilizing what I have before I go in and buy more things.
Always.
I watched there's not a shortage of YouTube videos, and maybe we can make one at some point on how to learn to love your Bernina stitch regulator. And a lot of it for me, because I like to get in and, like, do things, is slow down and take a breath. That was a huge thing.
The BSR requires you to pace yourself.
It does.
Yeah.
And that helped a lot. And I think that one little plate helped a lot too. And there are people who make accessories. Like, there's somebody who makes a little snap-on ruler foot accessory for the BSR. So there's even options if you love the BSR. Like, some of the women I watch, they are obsessed with it and they love it. So
there you go. So sometimes my opinion is garbage and you should listen to someone else.
Well, and that, like, you know, you have to find out, like, what feels good for you. I think ultimately I like the freedom of I learned on a Burnett here, and we didn't have the BSR on it, obviously. And I liked the freedom of it, and I liked kind of I felt like I was a little bit more in control. I feel a little bit more like the machine is in control with the BSR.
Yeah. That's my big complaint about it too, is I like to be in charge.
Yeah.
And
we're a little bit of control freaks here.
I don't like to be babysat by my BSR.
Yeah. So, you know.
Yeah. What have you found? Like, did you have any hesitation or anxiety about stitch length? And if so,
yes.
How have you moved forward with that?
First one, I did notice, like, I would get really big stitches when I would start, and I think it was just, like, pushing it. You know, it was like so
you're
excited,
scared.
Like,
you're like, I gotta go.
Like, it's time to go. Oh my gosh, my foot pedal's down.
It's like when you learn to drive and the light turns green and you're like, yeah. And your mom's like, please stop immediately.
I find that. Okay, yeah. Oh, that's a good idea. Singing a song in your head.
Okay, so John has made this really excellent comment, and this is, I've actually heard, I wish I could remember the, like, rhythm of it. But I know folks who quilt that they have like those Spotify playlists that are based on beats per minute.
Is it like 120 like CPR?
Yeah, I don't know what the like magic number is, but yeah.
Well, if it's like same as CPR rate, you've got Staying Alive, you've got Stars and Stripes Forever. Yeah, you got quite a lot in there.
So yeah, find as you begin to find that rhythm, find some music that has a very similar rhythm and play that. I think that's a great tip, Dawn, and I've heard of folks definitely doing that. That's awesome.
Love that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try that next time.
I know. We'll have to put on some like metronomic measured
I'm sure we can find, maybe we should make playlists on Spotify of our favorite speeds for
we realized that the playlist will consist of Fish and Lizzo, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Darcy pretty much only listens to Fish. I pretty much only listen to Lizzo. It's
right.
Great.
So it's gonna
not high contrast at all around here.
Not even a little bit. So I've lost my train of thought now. We're talking about Stars and Stripes Forever.
The big stitches at the beginning. How have you made progress on that? What has helped you?
I think first of all, just recognizing the areas where I was doing it, paying attention to when it was happening and what I was doing when I was doing it, and then just like taking the time to like try again a different way. The other thing with the Bernina Stitch Regulator is sometimes if you like try to like just jump too fast, you put the thing down, it like does one stitch and then it just stops. And so the other thing I've had to realize with using the Bernina Stitch Regulator is that you push the pedal all the way down. You're not pushing it halfway down. It goes all the way down and it's not going to do anything. Like it's not going to move until you move. So like I would push it all the way down and then wait a second before I start going. And then
give it like that minute to engage.
Yes.
That's very similar to even quilting without the regulator of like push your pedal, let it take a stitch or two and then begin moving.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we are definitely going to try it without plugging it in and just see how that feels.
I'm really curious to know if that'll work.
I know.
Or if the machine will be like, immediately, no.
We hate this.
I feel like the Bernina might not like it. Berninas are opinionated. They're like Toyotas. Do y'all know how like Toyotas, they just beep about everything? Similar vibe. When it's good, it's very good.
And the Subaru, the lights just turn on and then never go off.
Hello, I'm awake. I love it.
I told you to check engine, but now I still mean it, even though you did.
Oh, I love technology. What a mess. All right, Rockstars, any closing questions before we wrap up our time together? Hopefully this has been encouraging to you, if nothing else, that stitch length does not need to be something that is over occupying your mind. Set yourself free to let it be imperfect as you're learning. This is one of the great things, as we mentioned, about practice sandwiches, is that they're low stakes. And as I mentioned, I have high stakes quilts that I quilted. They're like my bed quilts and they still weren't perfect. And sometimes the stitches get picked and it is what it is. And we learn as we go. And as we continue to improve, our quilts are going to be better and better. Our quilting is going to look more and more beautiful. And it's okay to have full grace and full embracing of this learning period. All right.
I love that I have a full quilt that has imperfect quilts.
It looks so good.
Stitches. Because it's all part of the journey and the story of my quilting.
It is.
I put a tag on it for the year, so I'll be able to look back on it and be like, this is when I was in that part of the journey. And I love that.
And we hung it in the shop. It got so much love.
And it has the spot of honor on my couch now.
Oh, I love that so much. If y'all want to see it, it's the Daphne Astra quilt. It's got that gingery background that is over on Instagram. You'll find it. It's in our feed a few times.
We might have put it up there a couple times.
We might be kind of obsessed. All right. Rockstars, thank you so much for tuning in today. Just a quick reminder, I will be live again at 11 a.m. tomorrow, so hit subscribe to make it easy to find me. Go ahead and click the links in the caption of this video. The first one is going to be over to the blog, and it talks all about practicing free motion quilting. So it'll give you some more tips about how to continue on this journey so that you can see progress in your stitch length as you're going along. That second link, again, is an invite to the Quilting Plan Challenge. That is a totally free event, but by registering, you get a really cool workbook, and we're going to work through that together here in a couple of weeks to help you decide what to quilt where on your quilt. All right, Rockstars, I'll see you tomorrow.